So requests and limits. So request. So this is the request is nothing but limits is nothing but a minimum. Request is nothing but a maximum amount of the CPU. What is that? Limits and requests. So these are the mechanisms Kubernetes uses to control resources such as a CPU and memory. Requests and limits are the mechanisms Kubernetes use control resources such as CPU and memory. So requests are what is a container is guaranteed to get. If the container requests resources, Kubernetes will only schedule on a node that can give it the resource. Limit, on the other hand, make sure a container never goes above the certain value. The container is only allowed go to up to the limit. So then it is a restricted, guys. So this is the request is the minimum CPU and the maximum CPU is the limit. So maximum CPU is a limit. So guys understood?
Yeah,
So
bro.
requests limits. So underscore image request equal to 32 memory CPU equal to 200. So memory CPU limits equal to memory 64 gig CPU equal to 250 M. So request is nothing but a minimum, a limits is nothing but a maximum. So request 32 M and CPU 200 milli memories. Limits 64 memory and CPU is 255. So request is minimum, limits is maximum. Limit is maximum. Guys understood?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Limits and requests are are important settings when working with the Kubernetes. This article will focus on the two most important ones, CPU and memory. Kubernetes defines a limits as a maximum amount of the resource. A requests on the hand are the minimum guarantee amount of the resources. Now you understood, guys. Kubernetes define a limits as a maximum amount. What is the guys? Limits is a maximum amount and a request is the minimum account. Guys, here request is a minimum amount. Is not a minimum. Sorry. So minimum. So this is limits is nothing but a maximum. Yeah, guys. So once it is maximum crossed, the CPU maximum crossed, it automatically create the another pod. Right, guys? The minimum request. If the pod is increased, something like the pod is increased, the request, the CPU is decreased to 200, it automatically decrease the pods. That is the resources limits and request. Kubernetes define limits as a maximum amount of the resource to be used by the container. A request, on the other hand, are the minimum guaranteed amount of the resources that is reserved for a container. A container, a minimum is 200, a maximum is 500 M. Understood, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah. So that is a CPU, a limit to request. Request is 1 GB and the limit is 2 GB. A request guaranteed 1 GB of CPU, a limit is guaranteed 2 GB of CPU. 2 GB of CPU. Guys, understood? Limits requests. In the limits request, we can give memory CPU. So limits request. So what is that? the resources. In the resources, we can provide the limits and requests. In the limits, we can create a memory and CPU, and the request we can create a memory and a CPU. Memory and CPU. Guys, understood?
Yes, bro.
Very good. Memory and CPU. It requests memory and CPU. 1 second, guys. Requests, request and limits. So limit is a maximum amount. Limit maximum or request maximum. Guys, so limit is nothing but a maximum amount.
Request is the minimum.
Mm. So here see guys, request and limit. Limit is the maximum amount, request is the minimum amount. Okay.